one of my earliest memories. When I was 6 years old, I remember trying to draw my grandpa and looking at my drawing and being so disappointed at how crummy the drawing was and how wonderful my grandfather's face was and how full of mystery and time and stories and feelings and all kinds of just history, human history was right there in his face. And I felt that my drawing was just a travesty. Of course, I didn't have fancy words like travesty, but it was crummy, and I hated it. My best bit of advice for a younger artist is to keep trying. Do not quit. Here I've been painting for half a century. I started when I was 18. I mean, I made art all the time as a kid, but I made the decision to be a professional artist when I was 18, and I'm now 68, so half a century. I don't want to think about my technique. It's the faithful discipline of making that will lead to those good places. As someone once said, the reason you have to show up in your studio every day is that you might actually make a work of art. There's a chance, a possibility. For me, making art is essentially an act of submission. It's an act of letting go of my illusion that I am the one in charge of my life. I have to dive in head first at the beginning of a painting, and sometimes I don't know what the heck I'm doing. In fact, what you're looking at in the walls of my studio right now are a lot of starts that might be finished paintings, but my hunch is that they may not survive. They may have to go a step further. And a lot of the portraits I've done in the last 10 years started out as completely abstract paintings and ended up becoming a lifelike portrait. Oftentimes almost always start abstract, pushing paint around, shapes, colors, textures, and then I often will scrape down and repaint, and then sometimes sand through whole layers of paint before the image starts to come to me as a sense of where this thing wants to go. When I paint, I have to find my way by making. It's not like, directly taking dictation, but I do have a sense that I get little nudges in the process of where this thing is supposed to go. Meg and I were married in 1973 on Niles Beach here in Gloucester, and whoever happened to be home in our immediate neighborhood was invited. We didn't send out invitations, and we had the Justice of the Peace meet us down at the beach, and he married us there. I sang at my wedding, I think Begin the Begin by Cole Porter with a guitar, and here's the moment of, he said, do you take her to be your wedded wife? Yeah, we were kids. She was 19, I was 20. It's a magical time for us. The reason I had come to Gloucester was because I fell in love with the light here around the ocean side. This really very particular kind of light, I think, that happens around coastal towns. And Gloucester's kind of a really special place.
Fall across my riding path.
The face of the lion, it hasn't got a mane, it's kind of a bald lion.
Well, can you see the lion's face?
Absolutely.
So we call it the lion.
Kind of smiling a little.
Yeah.
Big. But it's
My wife and I basically settled on this street 35 years ago. And she had also grown up moving around a lot. Her dad was the same corporate climber and had moved them all over the world. She was dizzied by the moving she'd done. And we didn't really even talk about it, we just did it. We just planted ourselves. And we've been on this same street for 35 years. Puppies, come out. Over the course of the past 18 months, the COVID lockdown, where we were completely isolated, I took up walking as a form of exercise, but it quickly turned into hiking. Within 5 or 6 kilometers of our house, there are hundreds of trails that I'd never known anything about. So I was on these daily hikes, and I would discover all kinds of things like fallen leaves, roots and branches, fallen timber, trees that had fallen down in the storms that were growing lichens and different kinds of fungi, and really amazing shapes and colors. And I think that just sort of got under my skin and sort of distilled, steeped in there for a while until it came out in some of these paintings that I've done in the last year. It's recognizable as some of the kind of thing I've been doing for years, which is, all the layering and the scraping and sanding and then repainting. That very same process of making that I find myself doing naturally, that kind of vigorous losing and finding of form, is exactly what happens in nature all the time. Something grows up, a branch falls off, the leaves fall, twigs are there, vines are growing, roots will emerge out of the ground as there's erosion. Those same forms that I encountered in those walks, those hikes, are reemerging in kind of distilled, abstracted form. What I want to do is be like those who are born of the Spirit, be able to receive guidance and then submit to that jet stream, that flow, and let it take me where it wants to go. I'm a servant of the work. I don't think of myself as this grand author and grand planner of the work of art. If I planned a work of art, it would definitely be something you'd want to throw away. I really do believe that you're only an artist while you're making the art. The rest of the time, you're just like everyone else. You're a viewer of that artifact. There's no difference between you and the next person. And I really can't stand the idea of an artist going around trying to determine what other people make of their work. Kind of saying, this is what this thing means. It can't mean anything else. What a terrible idea. I love that play between abstraction on the one hand, the conceptual, and the unexpected. Jesus said those who are born of the Spirit are like the wind. You neither see where it originates nor where it's going. You just see the effects of the wind. And he talks about those who are born of the Spirit being like the wind. In other words, being able to move suddenly while being inspired, literally inspired, to breathe in the Spirit, and what happens is the unexpected, the surprise. And that surprise is often the presence of God.